If you're not already doing this, to be able to make significant revenue in your business. A lot of the larger companies, the companies that are having a lot of success, especially post-COVID, are doing this one thing to be able to achieve massive results. And we're going to break it down for you step by step on what it is, how it works, and how you can use this to be able to generate a lot of leads, interest, buzz, and customers for your business. So We and Goliath is a full-service virtual event company that specializes in achieving optimal results for global enterprises and SMBs, even when their clients feel they're facing giant challenges. Hence their slogan, "We've got your slingshot." So unlike most event companies, they've been digital first since they've been digital first since way before COVID even took place, even before the pandemic. And their co-founder, Michelle and Daniel, have over 20 years of experience in event production, design, and digital marketing. Daniel, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So a couple things here. First of all, did I say that right? What is your actual slogan?
Yeah, we've got your slingshot. So
Okay.
The idea with We and Goliath is like, not everybody can be a specialist at everything. So if you have a big giant to slay, you need to call in the right expert. So that's the we. Together,
I love that. I love the name of your guys' company.
Things.
I love your guys' motto as well. And so you're in the digital event space, which has become way more popular, obviously, since the pandemic. But you guys were doing this well before the pandemic even took place.
That's right. Webinars, video, just pre-produced video events, video sales letters, video, email funnels. It's been a big part of marketing for a long time, but now live video events have just evolved like 10 years worth in 3 years. So it's been amazing to be a part of that, help push platforms forward with more features for interactivity, and use all our marketing skills to help get our clients great results in this event space.
So when it comes to events, a lot of people aren't even familiar with this term yet. Like when we talk about a virtual event, what do we mean by a virtual event?
For sure. I mean, it could mean 100 things. The most common types of events that we're doing for our clients are webinars or webinar series, fundraisers or gala events, conferences, summits, trade shows. And we've been doing those purely virtual throughout COVID. And now a lot of our work is helping somebody hybridize an in-person event by adding this virtual audience, not just as a pure live stream, but with two-way interactivity. So, a lot of range there, but basically it's delivering a really good event experience online, way beyond just a video or even a simple presentation style event, but by adding interactivity, better production value, better promotion, better follow-up. That's where we're seeing these great results we're going to talk about today.
Okay, great. So let's talk a little about that. You mentioned hybrid. So like when we talk about a virtual event versus a hybrid event, what's the differences there?
Yeah, a virtual event means purely virtual content and audience. A hybrid event means you have an in-person component. Usually it's most of your speakers and some or most of your audience are in person, but you have a national reach or you have a statewide reach. Not everybody can make it to your event. So like I said, it's the most basic one would be a live stream of your in-person event, just one way everybody can watch, like a sports event has always done. But usually hybrid event means, how do we engage those online users with virtual only content, skillful facilitation of the event so they know what to do, where to go, and pulling them in through Q&A, chat, but also asking them to unmute, asking them to contribute in different ways. Okay, so it's really engaging both audiences, online and in person, and sometimes having speakers both online and in person sharing a stage as well.
So what are you finding is working the best right now as we're in the middle of 2022? Is it in person? Is it virtual? Is it a hybrid combination of both? Is it like depends on many factors? I mean, what's your feedback from what you guys are seeing?
If you're a small local organization, you're going to be wanting to do in-person events primarily. You may want to intersperse some virtual events to be able to do more events with less cost because they are cheaper. Okay, so you could, at the very basics, consider live streaming to Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., YouTube, just to keep people engaged between events. For anybody with a national statewide, national, or international reach, you're going to want to be tapping into the benefits of virtual and hybrid. And we've been really excited to help our clients anywhere from 2 to 7x attendance by going from purely in person to virtual or hybrid. But those, like I said, this for national organizations. So if you have a cause that with national appeal, or you have a national association, or you're a global company, the cost savings are tremendous to go to a purely virtual event. And then if talking about hybrid, it's more expensive, but the benefits for those large organizations that have a national or global reach, it's just doubling your event for a quarter of the extra cost, maybe, or 50% of the extra cost. You can maybe double your ROI if you do it well.
We talked about results. You briefly mentioned some of those. Why do people do these? Because, from experience, events are a lot of time, a lot of money to usually host. Virtual, obviously, from what you're saying, makes it a lot easier. Hybrid's a lot easier, a lot cheaper than what regular events are to host. But
I wouldn't say hybrid is easier or cheaper. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's
hybrid
okay,
is
man.
Definitely more costly I can't talk. Hybrid is more costly and complex, but the benefits, if you're doing your biggest event of the year, the benefits of taking a hybrid are still there for some organizations. I wouldn't recommend it for everybody, but virtual is definitely cheaper and easier than in person and can have a bigger reach. So that's where we've been seeing the best ROI, to be honest.
So I'm interested in diving in a little bit more because, for example, I just spoke in Miami a few weeks ago, and they had, set up for 1,600 people. You've been in those rooms, massive room, tons of chairs. They have to rent out a significantly bigger ballroom, right? They have a huge staff of people to manage all those people. Every one of those people has t-shirts. They've got a photo booth. They have to put a massive stage. They got to put that huge backdrop. They have to fly everybody in, all their equipment in. So, gosh, man, it seems to me like having a massive real in-person event would be way more expensive than a virtual event. So what am I overlooking? Why would a virtual event or a hybrid event be more expensive than all the cost of putting all those people into one room in a location?
Yeah. So again, a hybrid event means you're still doing everything in person that you would be doing. Plus you're bringing in extra cameras to live. Maybe it's a lot smaller, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's 25% smaller or something due to COVID restrictions at your venue, but you have this global reach. It's definitely going to add, I would say, roughly 50 to 100% of your cost to add hybrid live streaming and online interactivity to an in-person event. But sometimes there is a great return for the right type of organization. Now, virtual, your costs are going to be anywhere from like a quarter to a half of an in-person event on average. Okay. But if you do it well, your content is going to be as good or better. And your interactivity could be almost as good to as good. And often that's not the primary thing. It's like a benefit. People are coming usually primarily for education and networking for events. Those are two of the main goals. And then depending on your business type, you're really looking to get great data to help move sales forward after an event. And that's another place where virtual can thrive, because you get a lot more data from a virtual event than an in-person event, especially now compared to 3 years ago, where you can segment your people, follow up more effectively, and scale certain types of marketing campaigns from virtual better. So because of lower costs, bigger reach, and better data, we're seeing the virtual ROI being really underlooked.
And so that all makes a lot of sense to me. Like if you're having a regular event, your costs can increase 50 to 100% with a virtual, because everything that's involved. And I want to talk to you a little bit more about everything that's involved that we're not thinking about for that cost. But I want to go back to that point, because that's a good question, is that if I have an event and let's say I invite people and 1,000 people come, my assumption is the minute I make it virtual, that of that 1,000 people, I'm just making stuff up, right? Let's say 50% say I'm going to attend online and 50% say I'm going to be there in person. But is that assumption accurate, or is it more of I've got 1,000 people now? The minute I add a virtual component, now it becomes 1,500 people, because those 1,000 still want to go to the live event and the 500 want to come virtually, because the cost increases when we go virtual. So the question is does that attract more people overall, or do we really attract the same amount of people and just some go virtual and some go to live event?
Yeah, again, I wouldn't recommend this for every organization, but if you have that national or international appeal, by adding a virtual component, going to a big hybrid event, you can certainly grow the audience and not just give people an
option. Sure.
Right.
Okay.
And I think everybody should be considering virtual events, either in between your main events or as a replacement, if you also meet those qualities of you're looking for just simple cost savings, or you have a national appeal and you're valuing getting as many people as possible, lowering your costs and getting better data. Some events have to be in person. It's just the nature of the event to get the real ROI. Like a trade show is harder to pull off in purely virtual, but as a hybrid component, getting a virtual booth is a bonus. So a hybrid event can make sense. It's really down to the type of the event when you have to make these decisions. I can't say one is always better than the other.
Right. Let's say I have a national presence. I've never done an event before. Do you think, in your opinion, it's safer to start with a virtual event? Cheaper, safer for us to start there? Then do you recommend that we go to a hybrid, then like a real event? If like our audience warrants it. Let's say like I'm a Credit Suite, we help business owners get capital. We work all around the country. We could do an in-person, we could do a virtual, we could do a hybrid. We've never done an event. And that's a real scenario. So like, where is the best place from your experience to start in those three sectors? Do we do a hybrid? Do we do virtual? Do we do in person? With your experience? What do you think?
I mean, I'm a huge advocate of virtual events, like I said, because of greater reach, lower costs, and better data. So unless you have that need to be in person, definitely consider a purely virtual event. Call on an expert who has all the systems for the software, the production and the promotion, the interactivity. Pre-event and post-event marketing is very important to get the ROI there. But you'll see like a lot of our clients who've got 2 to 7x attendance and up to 3 times the revenue of their in-person events. When you do it well, it's amazing.
Wow. And it's a heck of a lot cheaper than if you were doing an actual in person. So then in that case, with a virtual event, what's involved? Like, what are we not thinking about that's a cost? Because I see Tony Robbins, right? That's ridiculous. Like, that guy's got like, I don't even know his TV screens exist that big behind him. And then there's Slack. Everybody's on Slack. We're not probably going to be that big. But like, what that's huge cost for that screen. So like, what kind of costs are involved? What do we have to think about when we're putting together a virtual event?
Yeah, I mean, just to throw out some ballpark numbers to give you an idea of costs, you're probably looking at like $10,000 to $100,000 for a virtual event of multi-day event, maybe $2,000 to $5,000 for a simple webinar. Okay, and everything in between. But so it's roughly, in my experience, about half the cost of an in-person event of the same size. Here's what's involved in a virtual event, right? Your responsibility is you got to decide your theme, get your speakers, get your content together, figure out your audience. This is always needed. Within an agency like We and Goliath, we can help you from there. So we help you choose the type of software to use. We plan out the virtual production, do all sorts of design to make that event website and the live stream look really good, plan out the interactivity, coach your speakers, do the live production. So it's not just looking like a Zoom call, but the right people are on screen at the right time. They're big, not just in the corner when their slides are showing. There's skillful facilitation of attendees. There's thoughtful data collection so that you're learning from that event and you can follow up effectively and improve your next event. There's calls to action to drive your sales or your donations or your follow-up actions. So all of this technology for marketing, production, websites, there's a lot of steps, but as an agency, we've systemized all this so well, cut our meeting time down by half over the last year by creating systems and really take care of all that tech stress for our clients so they can just focus on their content and their community, and hopefully do more events as well as getting better results.
So a lot of people just think they can fire up Zoom and go at it, right? But you've talked a lot about today so far about things like being interactive, things like engagement. So in your experience, how big of a deal is that? Because that's the stuff that most people just don't do. If they do it, they suck at doing it. So if you're good at that stuff, like does that really help, make a big dent in the ROI that you're going to get?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people think they can just pull up a PowerPoint presentation, give their pitch, and somebody's going to buy or sign up. But they might as well be watching a YouTube video at that point. So a virtual event is an opportunity to interact with your attendees. And it's so overlooked. I mean, painfully overlooked by people, the opportunities to make people feel a part of the event. Sometimes when I've given a talk about this, and I'm demonstrating it at a virtual conference, people say this was the best workshop of the whole conference. They love it because here's a tip, sort of a golden takeaway for anybody doing a virtual event that you can implement with no cost, okay, and very little training. Like, you can just hear me out here, implement this at any event and get better results. Ask your attendees throughout the event to chat with you about micro questions, micro surveys, feedback throughout the thing, okay? Keep an eye on your chat and read out their responses. They will feel a part of the event. They will feel contributing. They will feel heard. You will learn, and you won't feel nearly as lonely just talking to a screen, but you'll get this amazing feedback. So you're asking things, micro questions are like, are you with me? Do you get that? Do you see the importance of this? Micro survey would be, how could this help you in your business? Give me a one-word answer. Give me type 1, give me a 1 through 10. How useful is that? And you could be getting 100 replies throughout the event. Whereas most chats, you'll get 100 chats in the whole event. If you're doing a boring presentation only format, okay? You're getting flooded with feedback. It's a joy for everybody. And then if you're doing it well, you're capturing that data, who is most engaged on this event, and you're getting to read their responses to personalize follow-up on your hot leads from that event. That's data that you could never get at an in-person event. You can't have 100 people talk to you all at once in person in a room. You can't easily analyze who spoke at a room, even if you let them speak. You would need a whole team of people like, oh, that person 4 in, 6 over in the chair, right? So amazing level of data, interactivity, and learning to help your follow-up, to help you learn and do better events, and this skillful lead nurturing or sales after the event to your most engaged users.
So I think people that are considering doing this, the biggest fear is that they put the cost in, they don't get ROI, they don't get an audience there, right? And so a lot of the stuff you mentioned is very important. You got to figure out what the theme of the event is, who's going to speak, what days, and how much time are you going to spend during the event, who your audience is, having a message that resonates with that audience. When you have all this stuff planned out and thought through, and somebody comes to you, like, what have you found as effective ways to get people to register the event? Is it hitting your email database? Is it hitting on your social media channels? Is it running paid ads? Like, as an agency, what has you found are some of the most successful methods that are working right now to get people to register and attend these events?
Yeah. Email lists are still probably the number one driver for internal registrations for companies doing events, for your, obviously for any internal event, it's only your email list of your company. But let's say it's an association, you have your members, right? You need to reach out to them by email, social, you named it. Paid ads are an easy way to waste money if you're not very good at them. You need to be very careful that you're segmenting your audience and that you've got really your messaging worked out well in advance. If you haven't already, you need to be doing surveys, learning about the voice of your audience, testing your messaging before you just throw a bunch of money at the wall, but done well. Paid ads are a really important part of scaling large events. One example, we helped a first year event in Denver City Park and online with marketing for about 2.5 months. They got 6,500 attendees at this first year festival. And a lot of that was paid advertising, influencer marketing. We had a street team as well, so we don't take full credit, but on the online side, paid ads for the right type of event are crucial. Some organizations are getting great results through SMS as well, especially peer-to-peer texting. So the text comes from an individual at your organization. It doesn't look as spammy that way, but it's still automated, and but you can have one-on-one follow-up. So like everything, it depends on the type of event, your industry, how large your lists are, which methods you want to take. At We and Goliath, what we specialize in terms of helping people grow their audience, is a marketing support package with a number of videos, graphics, and emails that we find pretty much every event could make use of. And we find that even teams with, or even companies with a design team or a marketing team, they often are too busy with other projects to properly promote their event. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people are making with virtual events, is not enough promotion, or promotion too late, too little, to make a big impact. You need your marketing assets at least a month before your event to build attention. If you're doing an in-person event, as long as possible, because people have to fly. But for a virtual event, let's say 4 to 8 weeks before your event, you should be promoting generally. And you're going to want videos, because some people only pay attention to video these days. They're not really willing to read a lot of copy. So you need a promo video. You're going to probably want some short bonus videos about, like a full promo video. Here's our event, why you should attend, who it's for, what's included, maybe bonus videos of people talking and why this is going to be fun, or here's a featured speaker. Lots of graphics for speakers, sponsors, and partners to share, emails, social posts. These are what we bulk together because they're useful for everybody and help you not have to create all of these things yourself. Make sure you get them in on time. So this multi-channel marketing approach is a huge part of the success of a virtual event.
You mentioned tech earlier too, in software. What are some advancements that you're seeing there? Because I just give you an example. Tony Robbins, he's an example, but a lot of these guys that are out there doing events right now, they've got these huge screens. But I mean, what's needed? Do you what do you really need production wise to even be able to host an event, a virtual event?
Yeah, the big TV screens are a fun, somewhat gimmicky approach, but a pretty cool approach if you want to interact one-on-one with your attendees and show your attendees on screen. Basically it's a purely virtual event, but they're making it look like an in-person event in a fancy studio. And of course, it's going to drive your costs up a ton. So if you're not quite there yet, which most people aren't or don't have that type of need, you use, let's say, Zoom Gallery View, and you can, if you have a producer, a skilled producer, they can take that in as a channel and show the gallery view on the main screen. But it's a lot better to have a producer doing live switching for your production. So you're only showing the gallery view when you want. You're showing the guests at the right time, like I mentioned before. So the production is certainly important, but that's only a small piece of your virtual event technology. You need registration. You need an event website. You need emails and push notifications sometimes. You need your virtual stage, your streaming. So this is called your event platform usually. There's hundreds of platforms out there. As an agency, we've tested probably 30 out of those hundreds, and we have accounts with about 5. So we use different software for webinars, fundraisers, galas, conferences, and trade shows. Events that are more sales focused and they need business meetings, maybe one-on-one with sponsors or internal teams, is different from events that are just really interactivity focused and they need group networking, maybe table-based networking where you can sit in at a virtual table, move to another table. It's very freewheeling. So many different choices. So that's one reason you may want to contact us or another virtual event agency, is to help you choose the right software for your needs, set it up for you so you don't have to learn not only how to use it, but why to use each feature, right? And like we can integrate different features that aren't included. There's a huge array of options. So let somebody like We and Goliath think through that stuff with you and for you. Do you need a photo booth? Do you need sponsor booths? Are you going to want appointment scheduling, recommended connections? What type of messaging and networking? One-on-one networking, group networking, themed networking, when to have breaks. And there's a lot of strategy that goes into effectively utilizing that technology to meet your goals.
We talked a lot about advertising marketing methodologies that work. You talked a lot about interactive and engagement, things you could do there to keep them engaged when they're there. What are you finding are some techniques to get people to show up? Have you found there's a difference between paid versus free? If I'm going to sell something at the event, am I better to let people come in for free, or does that really diminish the amount of those people that actually show up? Or is it better to charge a high amount or a low amount? Or nothing to do with price? What are just some tips to actually get people to go from registering and seeing the event, being interested in registering, and actually showing up?
Yeah, great question. The event marketing doesn't stop when somebody registers. You've probably noticed yourself, we've all signed up for things that we don't really commit to attending. We're just maybe going to attend. So we sign up. So we're seeing on average, virtual events get about a 50% attendance rate for a free virtual event on average. But if you could drive that up to 80, 90%, then from the same registrations, you're getting a 50 or so percent extra attendance. It's very important. So the email content that you send is really key. A lot of people just say, keep repeating the same messaging over and over, like the name of the event, the date and the time, we're looking forward to see you there. But you need to remind people the importance, the value of your event in your emails to get them excited. Assume that they're only halfway sold by the time they register, and build up the value of your event through all these channels: email, social, SMS, video. And I recommend at least 4 emails, let's say, to lead up to an event over that 4 to 8 weeks after they registered, where you're building up the excitement. You could announce a contest, for example, and get people engaging with the event before it even begins, and they start earning points. You could feature, you could do a pre-event. You could talk about featured speakers and sponsors. These are just a couple of ideas that you want, but the core of it is, why do people really want to attend? What makes you and your event so special that they would choose you over your competitors or over Netflix or over just getting things done in their business? Even if it's a free event, you're selling this event for their attention. So make sure you're emphasizing your value in all of your follow-up messaging.
What about mistakes? Where do you see people really mess up and go wrong?
Well, we've already mentioned not enough promotion, too little promotion, not enough interactivity, trying to do it yourself, and overwhelming your team. We've seen teams who've, like one association that we've worked with for the last year and a half, they had 3 full-time staff trying to run their virtual events for them. And they weren't hired for that. They were taking over other people's roles. That's not needed, and you're not going to do it as well as an expert. So trying to DIY can be one of those other really big mistakes. And then not collecting or utilizing data was the last one I wanted to mention that we haven't really touched on. So at the very basics, a virtual event will tell you attendance, how many people attended, which sessions were most important, or how many people registered and how many people actually showed up. But if you do it well, you're also seeing which sessions were most popular, and then you're getting feedback in those sessions about how people rated them. So it's not only attendance, it's enjoyment. And then you're seeing who enjoyed those sessions the most. And then you're asking people overall about this event. What did you like most about it? Are you ready to move forward with such and such, right? If you're selling in your event, you need to find out who your hot leads are. So you want to ask questions like, would you like a conversation with somebody about taking the next step with our business? And filter those people out so that you can give them the appropriate messaging, as opposed to people who are just there learning, and you need to put them on an educational drip campaign and not be too pushy. Okay. So if you don't collect that type of data, skillful survey data in your event, then your event marketing is going to annoy people. They're not going to be getting either or too much of that touch. So again, it's not super hard, but it takes planning, some strategy, some technology, and a team to follow through with that segmentation, copywriting, and follow-up.
I've enjoyed having you on. I think this is something a lot of people, everybody watching, could really entertain and do something with. It's given me a lot of ideas for hosting our first virtual event as well. But we just scratched the surface. There's so many other things we could dive into, so many other mistakes that people are going to make trying this on their own. Where can everybody go listening and watching to be able to get more information?
Yeah. Thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed. Happy to share more about your event at any point. And anybody listening, if you're thinking about planning a virtual or hybrid event, you can reach out to We and Goliath. It's weandgoliath.com or We and Goliath on any social channel. And we've been sharing, I hope you felt today, a lot of our favorite tips for optimizing events for better results. So you could listen to other podcasts, check out our blog, but we're currently offering a free strategy session. So this is not just like a sales call, but this is an in-depth strategy where we look at all of these aspects of your event. What have you done? What has worked well? Where could you improve? What's your business model? And we're giving more personalized tips for an hour. So this is a $500 value. We're currently offering that for free. Reach out to us and request that while it's going on, and we'll brainstorm with you about your needs. And then if it seems like maybe it's a good fit, we can talk about pricing and give you a custom quote. Everything is custom with us. And we have discounts for nonprofits on all of our services, discounts for repeat clients. We really try to make things affordable, but it's, again, what makes us most special is this design and marketing focus. If you feel like your brand needs to look way elevated from a regular Zoom call, you want to put on a high quality professional event that grabs people's attention, that's interactive, that pulls on data. You don't want to learn all the tech. These are our specialties, and we would love to talk to you.
Daniel, thanks for coming on today. I love having you here.
Thanks so much, Ty. Great to be here. All the best.
So listen, if you're watching and listening to this is really the future. And we didn't have enough time today to talk about probably where the industry is going, the future of this. But I could tell you that we see here now, I'm in the middle of doing a challenge for our audience, and just something even like that, without any exaggeration, historically would generate 300,000 plus in sales to the organization. And that's not even that's scratching the surface of what Daniel's talking about, doing an actual real event, whether it be a hybrid event, an online event, using the tools, the software, the techniques that these guys teach and help you reach, where you're increasing the attendance, increasing the engagement, increasing your overall brand awareness, and making yourself really look like you know what you're doing and professional in this space. That elevates it to a whole other level. So it's no exaggeration to say that there literally could be millions of dollars for your organization that's sitting there with events. And the other thing I think is interesting is that your competition is not doing it. Like, if you really think about your industry, you'll validate what I'm saying here. You're probably going to have a hard time thinking of hardly anybody, if anybody at all, that's even doing an online event, that's doing a hybrid event, that's doing any of the stuff that Daniel talked about here today. So it gives you a massive competitive advantage. If it's all blue ocean, which means that there's area that, your competition is not even in, that you could just go and dominate. And it's so lucrative. The reason that people do this is there's so much money to be made in these kind of events. But we just talked briefly about some of the things that are important. There's so much more. So make sure that you go to weandgoliath.com. That's weandgoliath.com. And on We and Goliath, you can find a lot of good stuff. There's a blog here that tells you a lot of cool things that you're going to want to know if you're thinking about doing an event. Like, you're crazy to not even just check this out, to be able to give yourself some basic knowledge that you need to be able to do this. And then you're also crazy not to give these guys a call. I mean, they're giving you a $500 assessment that usually they would charge somebody for, just to even figure out and give you basic advice on the structuring of your event. They're giving you that at no cost, and you're going to walk away with that out with a lot of ideas and also a good idea of whether they may be a really good fit to work with you to help you have a lot more success. I found that you could do this on your own and get a fraction of the results than having a professional help you. And I've never found a case like this where you're not working with a company like them and get massive ROI compared to what you would have gotten if you weren't. So it's worth a look. Go check out their blog here at weandgoliath.com. There's information about the services, why you'd want to choose them. You can get with them for their free consultation and get your $500 consult that Daniel was really cool enough to be able to offer to you at no cost. While you're there too, you can get started. You can contact them and talk to them more about getting your $500 credit and getting that consultation. So make sure you visit weandgoliath.com. Thanks for tuning in.